Everybody, it's Leeroy from Leeroy Gaming, and today I have a very special build for you for Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. This is my one-man army build for the Swarm That Walks pathway. This pathway is very, very tricky because once you swap over to it, unlike any other pathway, you automatically lose all your companions and you got to be solo. Additionally, you have an exponential power curve that starts out really, really low. So if you have the wrong build, you're going to be super squishy, you're going to be miserable. So certain type of builds, like my one-man army builds, are going to be critical for you to follow in order to effectively have fun with this playstyle. Now, I want to also emphasize, if you are playing this from level 1 and following this guide, awesome. But if you are picking this up later, make sure to respec at Mythic Tier 8 right when you get it or before. Because there's a feature that's called Swarm Size that you're going to build up. And what I found, and I don't know if it's a bug or not, but if you respec, you lose all of your progress on your Swarm Size. And that Swarm Size has a huge impact on your build and the effectiveness of your abilities as well as your stats. So again, big warning here. Make sure that you get this build up and running early, or if you need to respec no later than hitting Mythic Level 8 on unlocking this, and then don't touch your build. Otherwise, you're going to have a huge decrease in your power level when you do respec. Now, as with all my builds, you're going to find timestamps throughout this video. So if you need to get to a certain portion, as this video is extensive, go ahead and use that. You also notice that I'm going to highlight my spreadsheets at the beginning of each section. We're going to overview them. Also, for your convenience, I have included a link below to the Excel spreadsheet that you can go ahead and download if you would like. Now, again, if you're here just for the spreadsheet and you go ahead and download that, not a problem. But if you want to help me support this channel, make sure I can keep making videos like this. Before you leave, drop that like, subscribe again if you want to, but leave a comment. Let me know that you're enjoying the spreadsheets and you're enjoying this. That helps the metrics on these videos and my channel grow tremendously, so we greatly appreciate that. All right, without further ado, boys, let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at my one-man army Swarm That Walks build. Okay, we're going to start with an overview of the spreadsheet of the level 1 to 20 progression. And here I like to give you information on the overall feel of this build. So, important thing, it's all Slayer, so you're going to be getting 20 levels of Slayer. The build role is a DPS / solo survival. I say solo survival because once you become the Swarm That Walks, you're going to be by yourself for a while. And you need to be able to be kind of tanky to survive that initial ramp up. Difficulty is pretty easy when you're starting out. You have high DPS, and since you're going to be using a shield, you're going to have some survivability. It does increase in difficulty once you become the Swarm That Walks, because you're going to be kind of weak at first. But as you increase the size of your swarm, it's going to make you really powerful, and it's going to drop that back down to easy. It's optimized for the entire game. So this is a build you can follow from level 1 to 20. It's going to be effective while you're leveling up and playing with your group, and you're also going to be effective when you turn into the Swarm That Walks, and you're going to be very, very optimized once you hit endgame. And whether this is main character or mercenary build, it's obviously a main character build. You cannot do this with the mercenaries, as you need the Swarm That Walks path. Now, at level 1, a couple key things. You're going to want to go human. We do that for the extra skill points. We want the extra feat fast learner, and fast learner is also unique to humans. So between those two elements, we're going to be getting 2 additional skill points every level, which is important. We are going to be optimizing to have 6 skills maxed out because we want to plan around being solo once we become the Swarm That Walks. So we want to make sure we can pass our athletics checks, our mobility checks, our perception checks. We want to be able to unlock locks, etc. with trickery. Persuasion is good for conversations when you do have them. And stealth is kind of nice when you're traveling the world. You want to avoid fights and to be efficient. You're also going to be getting some crazy stealth buffs once you become high levels of Swarm.Walks as well. Background, we chose Pickpocket, again, just for the buff, since you're going to be the group and eventually your solo specialist in unlocking things, for example. Deity doesn't matter. We want atheist or atheism because, we are the Swarm.Walks and we don't need another god. We are gods. The alignment we chose is neutral evil. This is the actual alignment of the Swarm.Walks. You can go chaotic evil. You could probably go lawful evil. But just know you should probably align towards evil because this is a very, very, very evil playthrough. Now, the final thing for beginners here is that your beginning stats, I like going 18 strength, 15 dexterity. We're going to be bumping that up to 16 early, 14 con, 14 int. The 14 int is so we can get extra skill points. And then 8 charisma. That's not something you're going to be leaning into too heavily. We're still going to get perception as a skill to help pass some of those checks. But you're the Swarm.Walks. You're not the most charismatic being in the universe. I also want to emphasize that one of the reasons we chose this class is because of the special Slayer feats that allow you to pick up combat styles, and they will let you bypass certain prerequisites. This is how we're able to get, for example, improved two-weapon fighting when we don't have 17 dexterity, etc. So this is why we chose the combination of the ability to get a lot of skill points and a lot of combat feats combined together makes Slayer a really, really good setup for this solo one-man army build. So there's the overview. Now let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at everything level by level, and I'll explain why we chose each effect and what it does. I also want to emphasize that I had to respec here. So what I did for the overview of each level, do note this is looking at my character with no gear on and also with swarm size 0 because the game does reset your swarm size if you respec. So I do want to emphasize if you're going to use this build, you're going to want to either do it from level 1 or make sure you respec and get this setup going by the time you hit Mythic Level 8 or before so that your swarm levels don't get lost. With that being said, do know during this walkthrough, since I did optimize it, don't really pay too much attention to some of your stats on the left because you're going to be missing some of the bonuses. Later on, when I show you my end game stats, it will show you a more realistic assessment of all the stats with gear, with my swarm size. The only downside will be that about 2 or 3 of these choices will be less optimized. So at that point, you're going to not pay attention to those. So as far as feats go, make sure you're paying attention to this progression. Now, at level 1, we're going to pick some important elements. We are going to make sure we get two-weapon fighting right off the bat. We're going to be wielding a one-handed weapon and a shield. For dual wielding, fast learning is important. We're going to get additional skill point. Again, pickpocket's going to give us bonuses to trickery and stealth, as well as your initiative roll. I also want to emphasize steady target. This is a feature that you get right off at level 1. It is something that's going to provide you tremendous bonuses that may not necessarily be replicated or shown directly on your stat sheet. But note, this is going to give you tremendous bonuses to attack, to damage, as well as later on AC against whatever target you choose to focus on, and which will normally be the most dangerous target you're going to be focusing on, or whatever target you're focusing down with damage. So I want to emphasize that's something that's going to level up. I'm not going to be really mentioning it, but just note you're going to be getting quite a nice bonus to all your attacks and damage and AC whenever you utilize this. Eventually, it's going to be used as a swift action. There's no limits to how often you can utilize this, so it's something that's going to be a big part of your gameplay. Now, level 2, you're going to pick up combat style, weapon and shield category, shield bash. So this now will basically allow you to use a heavy shield, which is what we're going to be doing, as a secondary weapon. And it's not only going to provide us AC, which is going to be critical, but it's going to give us extra attacks. At level 3, we are going to be doing weapon focused scimitar. Now, I like scimitars for this build because they have a really, really nice crit range. This is going to be a crit heavy build, so it's going to really help increase your DPS and also help you apply some really nice debuffs endgame when you're playing solo. And you're also going to start getting sneak attacks. Now, sneak attacks are going to be effective early game. There will be a bit of a period where it's going to be a little harder for you to get sneak attacks off. And that's going to be when you're running solo swarm that walks, when that gets activated. And then by end game, when you're able to have clones with you, you're obviously going to be able to easily apply this at that point as well. At level 4, we're going to put a point into dexterity. And again, we start with 15 dexterity. It's going to bump you up to 16 dexterity. It's going to help you a little bit with AC. It's going to help you with some of the save rolls here. And you're going to pick up Slippery Mind. And this is important because with this, you're going to gain a bonus on saving throws against mind-affecting conditions equal to your dexterity modifier. And so this is going to get pretty decent as you level up. Right now I have +8, for example, with no equipment and no Swarm.Walks buffs. So eventually that's going to get quite high, and it's going to help out a lot with your saves. At level 5, we're going to go ahead and pick up Power Attack. So we're going to start hitting harder and harder. At level 6, we are going to go ahead and pick up Uncanny Dodge. Now, I do want to emphasize what's amazing about these Slayer talents that you're going to be getting every other level is they allow you to bypass prerequisites. So normally you would not have the requirements for Uncanny Dodge if you tried to pick it up like a normal feat. But here now, it's great. You can't be caught flat-footed. You're protected from losing your dexterity bonus to AC, for example. And it's going to be a nice prerequisite for the improved Uncanny Dodge that we're going to be getting in a couple levels. At level 7, we are going to go ahead and pick up Outflank. So there's going to be quite a few levels where you're going to be early and mid-game playing with other characters, and also at the far end game. And getting a +4 attack rolls when flanking to your attacks is going to be amazingly powerful. At level 8, we're going to go ahead and get to cheat again a little bit. We're not going to have the required dexterity to normally pick up improved weapon-to-weapon fighting, but our Slayer talent is going to allow us to pick this up, and this is again under combat style, weapon and shield, and improved to weapon fighting. So that's really, really good. Additionally, we're going to start pumping strength at this point, so you're going to put a point into strength. At level 9, we're going to go ahead and pick up improved critical scimitar. So this is the beginning of the snowball effect of how powerful scimitars are going to be for you and as build. At level 10, we are going to pick up Crippling Strike. This is huge. The character of this ability can sneak attack opponents with such precision that basically when you do that damage, you're going to lower their strength by 2. And you're going to be doing a lot of sneak attacks. Now this is important because lowering the strength against some of the higher level strength-based monsters is going to lower their ability to hit you and do damage. Also, if you run into enemies that have like regeneration factors or elements where you need to use certain effects to negate their regeneration, and you'll know what I'm talking about when you fight an enemy that just won't die. It's got 0 health, it's on the ground, and you're struggling. So one of the nice ways of getting rid of that automatically is if their strength ever drops to 0, they automatically die. So basically by ultra crippling them. And what is extra nice about this is when an enemy is knocked down, even if you're solo, you auto sneak attack. So every time you attack, you're going to lower 2 strength. And within a couple seconds, they're going to be blown up and dead. So it's a nice way of overcoming that problem. At 11, we're going to get Shield Master. This is big. You do not suffer any penalties on attack rolls made with shields while you are wielding another weapon. So before you get this, it's going to be a little rough to get hits off of your offhand. It will sometimes happen, but it's starting at a level 11 where that offhand is going to start becoming better and better and quite effective. Level 12 is really big for your survival. You're going to get improved Uncanny Dodge. At this point, you can no longer be flanked. This is huge. especially looking ahead to when you're going to be playing solo as the swarm that walks. You're going to be constantly attacked by numerous enemies, and if they're able to flank you, it's going to be a long day for you. So being able to get improved uncanny dodge is absolutely critical for this build or any other build if you were to utilize the swarm that walks setup. In addition, we're going to get another point into strength, so we're going to keep buffing that stat to increase our damage and to hit. At level 13, we're going to go ahead and pick up Bashing Finish. I love this, especially since you're going to be critting so much of this build. So whenever you score a critical hit with a melee weapon, so your primary main weapon, you can make a shield bash attack against the same target using the same bonus as a free action. Now I want to emphasize, it's based on whatever attack crits. So if you crit with one of your primary attacks, it's going to be with full BAB. But let's say it's like your third or fourth, iterative attack, then it's going to have that same attack bonus. So how often this free hit will connect will vary, but it's a free attack. It's a free bonus attack. So it's going to be really helpful, and there's no limit to how often this can proc. So if you're constantly critting, you're just getting a ton of free attacks. Very good. At level 14, we're going to pick up this Spelling Attack. This is an ability that I absolutely love. Basically, whenever you deal sneak attack damage, the target is going to be impacted by the Dispel Magic effect as if you were casting a spell on them, and it's as if your caster level is equal to your character level. So the equivalent of a full caster casting this spell. And the big thing for this is just kind of quality of life. Enemies will have so many buffs on them, and I just find it so boring to manually try and dispel them, and then they'll buff mid-combat. It's a huge headache. So here, you don't have to worry about it. You're going to constantly proc this whenever you're doing sneak attack damage. And sometimes it won't surprise you that you may have an enemy that has 3, 4, maybe 5 buffs on them, and within a couple seconds, all of a sudden, you've completely dispelled them. So situationally, this can be very powerful, and it becomes a bigger and bigger role higher up in the gameplay. This is why we wait a little longer to pick this up. At level 15, we're going to go and get a nice little bonus. We wait. At level 15, we finally get Double Slice. Now, some people like to get this earlier, but I simply like a lot of the other feats beforehand that I want to get front-loaded. But now you're going to add your strength bonus to damage rolls made with your offhand weapon. Normally, you would only receive half. So this becomes more and more important the higher your strength bonus becomes. So it's just going to make that shield bash effect way more effective when it comes to dealing damage. Okay, at level 16, 2 things happen. We are going to get another point to distribute, so we're going to put into strength again. And we're also going to pick up greater 2-weapon fighting. So this is your third attack of your offhand bonus at -10 penalty. More hits, more chances to crit, more chances to apply all your different effects. So this is a no-brainer at high level. At level 17, I choose to pick Accomplished Sneak Attacker. Extra 1d6 of sneak attack damage. You're going to be getting so many opportunities at this now. This is going to add up over time. It's by no means required, but this is at the point which I chose to pick this up. All right, at level 18, we're going to get another Slayer talent. And in my setup here, unfortunately, it kind of messed things up. And it didn't show the option. But what I like to pick up at this point is Wearying Strike. So whenever you do sneak attack damage, not only does it do the 2 strength damage, but also an extra point of constitution damage. So it's another way to quickly whittle down enemies, especially casters that have lower constitution scores. This is kind of an option. You could pick up something else at this point. Some people might find this overkill. You could specialize in any of these other abilities, but that's the one I kind of chose to just really be brutal on the DPS. But you can pick any of those, or you can even pick any of the combat tricks that are available. So you literally have a couple of dozen options at this high level of play. All right, at level 19, we are going to pick up tiring critical. So whenever you do crits, the enemies are going to become fatigued, which is nice. But we're going to mainly be using this as a prerequisite to exhausting critical that we'll get in a second. I also want to emphasize at this level, your query that you're going to be utilizing on some of your tougher monsters now makes it so that it's a free action. So before it was a standard action and I rarely used it in combat, but now as a free action, it's amazing. And I want to emphasize the other elements here. You're going to get a +4, it used to be +2, +4 insight bonus on attack rolls made against the query. So all of those main hand and offhand attacks are going to be really, really potent. And very importantly, all your critical threats are going to be automatically confirmed. So this is absolutely huge because you have all those debuffs when you crit enemies. And finally, at level 20, you're going to get a final point to distribute. You're going to put it into strength. We're going to be picking up exhausting critical. So whenever we crit enemies, they become exhausted. Again, debuffing their ability to do damage to you, which is absolutely huge. And I do want to emphasize you get the Master Slayer feature, but in my experience, this is not something that I utilize very often. Your intelligence score will actually get pretty decent with the Swarm.Walks buff eventually, but I don't know if it's worth using a standard action to get the skill. You're going to be just slaughtering everything in external ways, so it's a capstone, but not one that you're likely to use very often. All right, next we'll go ahead and take a look at your mythic level progressions. So here's a quick snapshot of everything. And in just a second, we will take a look at the other options. Now, do note, this is based off what you're going to have at Mythic Level 8+. When you're leveling up from Mythic Level 1 to 8, you're going to be choosing a different initial Mythic path. Does not matter what you choose for that. Is completely up to you because it's all going to go away and it's going to be getting replaced by Mythic paths. These are the choices that you're going to actually make when it comes to Mythic feats, abilities, and your initial Mythic hero options. And then I will show you the Mythic powers that you're going to get at Mythic level 8, 9, and 10. You don't choose those, they're automatic. So they're not here on this spreadsheet, but we're going to look at them when we look at the level 1 to 10 progression right now. All right, so let's take a look at level 1 first of the Mythic progression. I recommend you pick the Bit of Fun Mythic hero. It may not necessarily be as thematic, but what's nice about this is you're going to get a +3 circumstance bonus at rank 2 to all your skill checks, and you're going to be a bit of a skill monkey, so that's huge. And also you're going to get effective mirror image that you get to utilize up to 3 times a day. So it's just another way that you can avoid getting hit on tough encounters, so it's actually quite helpful. Thundering Blow is going to be the mythic ability you pick up on. What's nice about this is that you're going to have a lot of attacks and you're going to inevitably miss some of them. This is going to do a nice AoE damage whenever you miss once a round. It's also sonic damage. Most enemies do not have resistances against sonic damage, so it's likely to be quite effective all the way throughout the game. And Mythic level 2, as we mentioned, you're going to get that bonus to your skill checks, and you're going to pick up 2-weapon fighting Mythic. This is huge. -2 penalty to your attack rolls. It's absolutely amazing. At Mythic level 3, you're going to get Unrelenting Assault. This is big. It is going to help you really stack the damage on each of your attacks. It doesn't show up on your baseline stat sheet, obviously, but because you're going to be doing so many dual-wield attacks, you're going to stack this +10 damage really quickly, and all your attacks are going to be doing that damage. And so +10 damage is the equivalent of 20 strength. So think about it that way. Very, very powerful. At Mythic Level 4, we're going to get improved critical Mythic Scimitar, increasing your critical multiplier of your Scimitar by 1 more. So this stacks with the normal feat with a similar name, and it is the reason why you crit so much. Now at Mythic Level 5, we're going to get something that's going to prepare you to be solo later, and this is Defensive Study. And what's great about this, it's going to give you an additional bonus to AC against your target that's equal to the bonus you normally get to attack. So this is nothing to sneeze at, and at high levels, especially whenever you are focusing down your most dangerous target, you're way less likely to get hit. Mythic Level 6 is going to give you Power Attack Mythic. Again, another way when, especially when you're dual wielding, you're just going to keep stacking that base damage increase more and more. And then don't forget, this gets multiplied when you crit. In Mythic Level 7, we finalize our preparation for turning into the swarm that walks by getting Magic Nullified. This is a toggle. It's going to give you a magic immunity, and it dispels any spell effects on you. Because you're running solo, you're going to be the main target for all the enemies, and this is going to just minimize the amount of negative effects that can apply to you. The way that you heal and the way that you function does not rely on you casting anything, so you don't have to worry about that. It's all going to be kind of special abilities, so this is something you're going to turn on and never worry about it again. At Mythic Level 8, we're going to pick up Rupture Restraints. So this is something, again, to help you survive since you're going to be impacted by so many things. So up to 3 times a day, automatically, it's going to dispel anything that makes you frightened, dazed, sickened, shaken, staggered, nauseated, stunned, paralyzed, or confused. Now, eventually, you're going to become immune to most of these. But early on, when you hit Mythic Level 8, you're going to be very, very easy to be taken down by multiple enemies. This is just going to help you get through to Mythic 10. And there's really nothing else outside of Leading Strike, which will only be effective at Mythic Level 10, that is going to be better when it comes to Mythic abilities. Now, this is when you turn into the Mythic Swarm. You're going to get Host of the Great Swarm automatically. You're going to get Swarm Infest. You're going to get Swarm Feast, Devour, and Swarm Form. Now, you can learn all about these elements by watching either one of my videos. I have a abridged video that talks just about the Swarm That Walks Mythic progression. You can check that video out. It should be in the description below as well, link. Or you can also find it discussed in my ultimate guide to the Swarm That Walks video. So right now I'm just kind of mousing over these. But these are the main features and abilities, and it changes everything for you. At level 9, you're going to get Flawless Attack. Now, this is way more powerful than it may look. So the way this is worded, it says you suffer a -4 penalty on your iterative attacks instead of -5. But this is not the same as just a +1 to attack. Let me explain to you how this works. And I'm going to give you an example. I had my character sheet open with no attacks at all. So kind of like this. And without this mythic feat, my first attack was +23. Then my second one was +18. Then +13, +8. Now, do note, this is not buff. This is no gear. So this is not meant to be a level 20 representation. But what we care about is, notice, we actually got a +2 to our main. So instead of being +23, it's +25. But then it gets insane. Our second attack, instead of being at +18, it now gives you +21. So that's a +3 difference. Our third attack, instead of being +13, it's +14. So, or +17. So notice that's +4. So our first attack actually got a +2 bonus. Second +3. Third +4. And this final one, you guessed it, it gives you a +5. So instead of being +8, it's a +13. This is a huge, huge difference. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people skip Flawless Attack because they don't understand how this really works on your character. They don't understand how powerful it is. Some people don't even know what an iterative attack is. But just note, by end game, when you have a ton of attacks, this is a huge difference. Can you pick this up earlier? Yes, you can. You could, for example, pick it up here at 6 very easily if you are struggling with hitting instead of power attack mythic. But normally, I don't have that many issues with killing at this point. I definitely like getting improved criticals first for myself, so you crit more often. But do note, this is a very powerful mythic feat. Feel free to pick it up at any point in this area here, 4, 6, or 9, but make sure to pick it up. You'll also get Eye of the Swarm, which is going to buff your strength and dex significantly. It's going to make you immune to a bunch of things. It is a huge game changer. Again, you can check out my other videos for all the details and explanations. But just know it's going to make you a killing machine. And then finally, Mythic Level 10. This is when we pick up Leading Strike. The reason we wait all this time for this is because this does not proc off yourself until you have more than one person in your party. And at Mythic Level 10, which again, a very, very end game, unfortunately, currently, but it lets your clones proc off of this. And because your clones are going to be clones of you, they will also apply this. So very, very powerful. And that's, again, because of the Swarm Clone effect. It's just going to give you 10d6 additional damage. That's divine damage. Again, very hard to resist by enemies. So those are all your mythic progression abilities and effects. All right, guys. Now I wanted to kind of go over some endgame stats with you at this point. Now, do note that this is my endgame character. The previous data we looked at was a bit of a respec because I was not optimized in my initial playthrough. So these stats could be better, but the reason I'm showing this for you is because I do have my swarm that walks level 7 at this point. It could be higher, but that basically increases how many bonuses you get to all your stats. So, and other abilities. So this is very, very important. But again, if I were to show you some of my mythic choices, they may not be as optimal, and some of my feats were suboptimal. Like instead of having the offensive feats, I had like Iron Will and Shield Focus, and that's not optimal. So that's just something I want to point out. If we look at the actual stats, I want to show you that the amount of attacks and their potency are going to be huge here. Now again, when you're optimized, it's going to be even bigger. Don't forget that you're going to get to study your targets, and all of these are going to be the equivalent of +4 more. So we're talking about it's going to be +41 at least on these, and that's before factoring outflank, etc. But massive amount of attacks. Your crit range is 15 to 20 times 3. So you're going to be critting all the time on this character, 3 times the damage. Absolutely insane. Your attacks of your shield are also going to be highly potent. It's only on a 20 that we crit, but that's okay. You get 3 more attacks, ton of damage. Notice, huge AC, 53 AC here, and this can get higher. The higher your swarm, this can keep scaling, which is nuts. Very high flat-footed AC. Our resists are nothing to sneeze at either, and they're going to be good across the board. Fortitude, Reflex. Our will is going to be our weakest, but still quite good. So very, very potent. Looking at our stats across the board, they're going to be very, very good. Currently 39 strength, 27 dex, 26 con, 35 int. All of these bonuses are going to keep going up as your swarm size increases. A quick look at your skill bonuses. Again, we are a skill monkey for self-survival. Ton of athletics, persuasion, mobility, perception is nuts. Trickery 41, 36 stealth. Very, very potent stat-wise. Now we're gonna go over some of the equipment examples you can have. I'm actually not optimized here. There's some equipment that I can still get that I haven't on this character. So for my helmet, I just got the Headband of Mental Perfection, +6 to int, wisdom, and charisma. This helps with saves, helps with a lot of the checks, etc. The goggles of Malo Chio is amazing. Plus the bonus to perception is what we really care about here. We don't really care about the other amount because we don't use bows, but I like these. There are other goggles you can use as well. I have a 5 Cloak of Resistance. You can get a +6, for example, but +4, +5, +6, whatever you can get the best one you can. For my rings, I start with Ring of Protection +5 to get some AC, and I use Ring of Evasion. So it basically gives you the evasion feat equivalent. So this is nice for taking no damage when you pass reflex saves against AoE attacks. And because our reflex save is pretty solid, this is quite good. For bracers, we use Bracers of Abrupt Onslaught. It's a +5 competence bonus on trickery skill checks. And we're all about trickery, so that's great. And whenever you make a sneak attack, you do additional 1d6 bludgeoning damage. So basically, more sneak attack damage. I'll absolutely love it. For our scimitars, you can get a +5 scimitar. I'm still using my Rupturing Storm, which is an amazing scimitar. +4 enhancement, but it does an additional 3d6 fire damage when you hit. And on a crit hit, it creates fire sparks that stick to allies' weapons, granting them flaming enchantments for 1d3 rounds, as well as granting the wielder an ally's fire resistance 20 for the same duration. So it's a great little effect there. I like using the Undying Love of the Hopebringer. This is a +5 enhancement, heavy shield. It's absolutely nuts. You can choose Light Aura or Dark Aura, and it's going to get buffs to saving throws, skill checks. You can also use it kind of once as an offensive effect as well. So very, very good. Additionally, any healing applied to the shield bearer will also heal all allied members for 1d6 plus shield bearer's level. This is big because at max level, you will be able to basically AoE heal your clones. And because you get natural healing, I think this works with it because it says, again, any healing applied to us. So that's going to help with AoE survival. For the neck piece, Amulet of Natural Armor +5. Can't go wrong with that. Now, for my armor, I use light armor. What I like about this is a +7 assassin armor. It lets you get max dexterity bonus of 5 on it, so it's a +12 armor class, which is not bad. The main reason I like this is it gives you total concealment against all ranged attacks as well, which are both weapon and touch. Now, at the high swarm levels, you're going to be able to get 50% concealment. So if you find better armor that you want to use, you could swap over to that. But having a 100% concealment against range attacks, so powerful, especially since you're going to be the sole target of just about everything once you're just swarmed out walks. So only having to deal with melee attacks attacking you for the most part and hitting you is very, very helpful. Now, do be careful here. It does have the negative effect that critical hits by melee attacks make you prone for 1 round. I don't like this. So if your armor class isn't high enough and you find that you're getting hit too much and get knocked down, then swap this out. But against range attacks, you become super, super tanky. So just be careful when you use this against melee and kind of just react based on how you're performing. For the robes, I just picked up silver robes. You can do whatever you want on here. It's just an extra +1 saving throw against fear. It's situationally as helpful as you level up. It becomes pretty much obsolete at high levels more often than not once you get all your buffs. For the belt, I chose the Belt of Physical Might. It's a +6 enhancement bonus to Strength and Constitution, both stats that are helpful for you. You're going to notice you have a ton of health on this build because the Swarmed Out Walks eventually will give you bonus to health. But as you can see here, I have 429 health. That is a metric ton of health. So very, very powerful. And then for boots, I love Boots of Free Reign. Basically, freedom of movement permanently cast on you. You can't be slowed. You can't be kept from moving and attacking. Very, very good. And then the only other kind of element that I recommend picking up is Jarsingat. This is basically a little dragon you can pick up and get if you follow the quest line to access the Dragon Burial Ground. And so each of your attacks, and again, you're going to have a ton of attacks, it's going to do an additional 1d4 of elemental damage. So just extra padded damage. Now, one thing I don't have on here right now is that I forgot to put on my lockpicks You should be able to get like a +2 lockpick set on here that will increase your trickery by an additional +2. Not sure if there's a +3 or not, but just note that that's one thing I'm missing here that you should be able to pick up. All right, guys, so that is my one-man army Swarm That Walks build. I hope you find it really, really helpful. This is a playstyle, a Mythic playthrough playstyle that can be a bit tricky if you have the wrong type of build. But if you follow this build, you are going to be so godly, so deadly, and most importantly, you're going to be super, super self-efficient. And that's really, really important for this build, as literally everybody's going to leave you or you're going to devour everybody. So good luck with this. Now, if you guys enjoy this build, if you enjoy my content and you want to support the channel, make sure to like, subscribe, smash that notification bell, and especially let me know what you think of this build. Let me know what else you'd like to see me create for you when it comes to Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous by leaving comments below. All right, guys, hope you guys have a wonderful day. As always, I will go ahead and see you guys in the next video.